Okay. Very well. Welcome to today's session on groups in Canvas. I'm Dave Giberson, formerly an online learning pathways instructional design coordinator, now retired and living in northern Idaho and helping out with the Canvas transition in large part by conducting these online seminars about various aspects of the use of Canvas. And the one today is, our topic today is, we'll talk about one of the more powerful capabilities in Canvas, one of the more pedagogically desirable sorts of activities in online courses. But unfortunately, one that's not a capability that's not used nearly as much as it might be. So, and some of that may be just a little bit of confusion about what you can and can't do with groups in Canvas. And we're going to try to fix that today, at least to a certain extent, to the extent of my knowledge on group usage in Canvas. I would encourage you to ask questions at any time. Just jump right in, either type in the chat tool or just unmute yourself. And again, you can do that by clicking on the little microphone icon in the lower left-hand corner of the Zoom screen. And just jump right in. Please don't stand on ceremony. I'd rather take care of the questions right when they occur to you so we don't forget them. And if it's something I can't answer, which has happened more often than I'd like, I will certainly get back to you on that. One thing, if you wouldn't mind, so that should that need arise, if you wouldn't mind going to the chat tool, again, it's that cartoon balloon about a little over halfway over to the right in the Zoom menu, and just type your name and your email address, if you wouldn't mind, in the type message here box at the bottom of the chat window. And then I will have your contact information so that I can get back to you with any extra material is needed. Thanks for doing that. Very well. I'm going to be sharing my screen for most of the day. Please let me know if you have trouble hearing or seeing anything. One thing to note when I'm screen sharing is that you will get a little window with some video thumbnails in it of me and everybody else that's on the call or on the seminar. You can move that around at need or minimize it by clicking on the dash in the upper left-hand corner. If you need to move to get it out of the way of something that I'm talking about, you can't see because my face is covering it up. That would be a sad thing to do, or sad thing to have happen. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. First off, let me find my syllabus. There it is. Bring that over here and share the screen. There we go. So just a little bit about what we're going to try to accomplish today. We're going to talk about what Canvas groups are and what you can do with them and what you can't do with them. There's some surprising limitations to these groups relative to what we were used to in Blackboard. We're going to look at both course groups, that is groups that you make as the instructor, and either assign students to or allow them to assort themselves among you can either sort them randomly, or you can have students choose which groups to belong to. But we'll also talk about student groups, which are something we didn't have in Blackboard, which students can create and use themselves without any intervention from necessarily any intervention from you. So let me get this over to the side here so I don't forget to go through all this lot. And let's go ahead and go to Canvas. And remember, jump in whenever you have questions. All right, here's just a little Canvas shell with some sample content in it that I've created for use in this seminar today. We can do anything we like in here. There are a number of dummy students, you should forgive the term, in here, and me. So we can create groups in here, we can see what we can do with them, play around with them, and so on. We'll start off by talking about how to, or indeed what we can do with Canvas groups. We can set up groups of students who can collaborate with one another on presentations or projects, group assignments that you might assign to them. You can assign homework assignments, quizzes, and gradable discussions to student groups so that only the students in those groups can access those assessments and participate in them. Students can also use Canvas groups to communicate with one another. Within each Canvas group, when it's created, has the capability to create discussion forums, which only they can access, and you, but no other students, so that they can communicate asynchronously with one another over time. They can also use their inbox tools, the Canvas email system, to contact one another, members of their groups, or members of their group, or the entire group at one time. They can share files with one another, which they can upload to Canvas and then share with one another. And they can create pages and work on those collaboratively in Canvas pages, so that they can create, or they can upload or create the two primary sorts of content items that you see in Canvas. Files that are created offline and uploaded to Canvas, and Canvas pages, which are basically web pages, which are created inside Canvas. And student groups can have their own sets of files and pages that they can work on and then potentially share with the rest of the class or with you. One thing that you can't do with Canvas groups that's a little off-putting is that you can't restrict access to content by Canvas groups. That is, you can't create a module in your Canvas course and restrict access to that module only to the members of a certain student group. Seems that's a fairly basic group capability that was an important feature in Blackboard that's not implemented in Canvas. I haven't been able to get a real good feel for why that is. I know I've seen a lot of conversation about that online, faculty requesting that capability, but Canvas has not, or instructor has not seen fit to provide that capability yet. Remember that if this is something that would be of interest to you, you can always suggest this sort of thing to Canvas by going to the Help button in the System menu over here on the left-hand edge of the page in every Canvas screen. And you can go to Submit a Feature Idea. And you can do that from here. Let's see. Let's see. Share a new idea. But you must log in to do that. Okay. Sorry. And here's a little information about how to use this page. So that's something that you can do at any time. And we encourage you to do that, because even if other people have suggested it, Canvas very definitely keeps track of how many people suggest or vote for a particular feature enhancement. And this is how they decide which ones to work on first. Or this is certainly a major factor in their considerations in that regard. So that is something you can't do right now that we have been used to being able to do in Blackboard. So that's something to consider as you plan on how you might use student groups in Canvas. So let's go ahead in this particular shell here and create some student groups, see how we do that, and see how we assign students to them or have students assign themselves to them. And then we'll take a look at some of the things that you can do with those groups. And someone just joined us. Great. I hope you're seeing my screen and hearing me okay. Please let me know if you're having any problems. You can either just speak up, or you can use the chat tool, which you've already done, to let me know. And another thing, if you wouldn't mind, in the chat tool, entering your name and your email address. So if we have some questions that I need to get more information to answer, I'll be able to get back in touch with you. And thanks. Thanks for attending. So, how do we create groups? Well, the easiest way to do that is to go to your People tool. And in the People tool, in your Roster tool, there's a tab for everyone, and there's a Group tab right next to it. David, thank you. So if we go to the Groups tab, right now we don't have any groups, but this text explains to you a little bit about what student groups are for. Just as we've been talking about, you can have group projects, students can do common writing assignments, they can do presentations, and they get their own calendars, discussion board, and collaboration tools so they can work together. The first thing you have to create is sort of a master, well, not a master group, but a so-called group set, which is a group of groups that's designed for a specific purpose. Like maybe we create a group set, which we can name, have to name obviously, for a midterm project. This is something that all students are going to have to participate in, but it's something, let's say it's something that you want them to participate as a group rather than as individuals. Yes, everyone hates group work. We hate grading it. Students hate doing it because suddenly they're not in complete control of their own fate. They have to work with other people. Whether or not other people cooperate can be a factor in how well their their grade turns out in this group assignment, things like that. It all seems a little unfair until, of course, we think about the fact that students are going to be doing, when they graduate and they go to work, they're going to be doing much of their work as part of teams, as part of groups. And it's incumbent upon us to teach them how to do that, how to be effectively work with groups and deal with the dynamics of personalities and varying levels of energy and capability and other group members and things like that. It's a little bit uncomfortable for everyone, but it is a very important part of their education. So this is definitely a worthwhile activity in an online or in a face-to-face course. So the group set name should probably say something about what the group's going to be, what these groups are going to be doing. And then we get to, within that group set, you're going to have several groups with smaller number, with some number of students in each group. You can just allow them to choose up on their own, like the neighborhood softball game. If you do that, you can set the number of groups that you want, and you can set a limit to how many people can be in a particular group so that everybody doesn't join the same group. So that's one way to create the groups within your group set automatically without you having to do anything else. In a situation like that, you can also, if you wish, assign a group leader to each group. You can either do that manually, or you can do it automatic, have the system do it automatically, either setting the first student to join as a group leader or just picking one at random. But on the assumption that you are going to want a group leader, you may or may not, this is an option. Or you can take the default here. And additionally, even if you're not going to allow self-sign-up, you can still decide to split students into a set number of groups. Or you can just decide to create the groups manually, which I think is probably what probably the most common way to proceed. So we'll set that here and we'll demonstrate that. Let's see. Anna Marie, good question in the chat tool that everyone should be seeing. Is it possible to use groups to create special settings on assignments? Yes, you can do this, and we'll see that here in a little while. And a group can have any number of students in it, from 1 to many. Good question. We'll look at that here in a minute. So I'm going to create this group set by hitting save. And here's my midterm project group tab under the groups tab in my people tool. You can always go back and look at everyone. They're still there. But here's my midterm group project tab. All right, I said I'd create the groups manually, which means I'll need to create a group by clicking this button here. And I've got 6 students in this course, so I can either have maybe 3 groups of 2 each or 2 groups of 3. I'm just going to say let's do 2, and I'll call this first group midterm group 2. It's a good idea to make these names as informational as possible, because if you have if a student suddenly becomes a member of a number of different groups in different group sets, they can be, things can get a little confusing for the students. And I can limit groups to so many members, but if I'm going to assign the members automatically, I don't have, or manually, I don't have to do that. So I'm just going to make that group. And I made that group 2. I should have made it group 1, sorry. We'll do that. We'll make another one. All right, there. Now we have 2 groups. And I can, by going to the menu tool associated with each group, I can edit the group. That's good. And I can also add students here. I can add students to groups by using the little plus sign over here in the rectangle associated with that student. If I want to put test student 1 in midterm group 1, I just click that plus sign and click on the name of the group to which I want them to belong. And boom, there they are, or they will be. I can see the members in that group by expanding the group member list just by clicking on that little right caret there. And let's say, and over here I have the students who are not yet assigned to groups within this group set. So let's say I want student 3 in that first group too. And maybe student 5. We'll put the odd numbers in midterm group 1. And again, I can make those visible or hide them if need. And let's put these other folks in midterm group 2. So this is how we would manually assign students to particular groups within a particular group set. Certainly we can have more than one group set. We'll do that now. So that's a group that's going to, these groups are going to collaborate on a midterm project of unspecified nature at this point in time. I can always make another group set. We'll call this final project. And this time, we'll split students into 2 groups. And I'm not going to worry about a leader. Okay, here in the final project tab, I have, I told it to make 2 groups, and I told it to randomly assort the students. So there's test students 1, 4, and 6 in project 1, project group, final project group 1, and the others in final project group 2. So it's that's quick and simple. And of course, remember we also had the option to allow students to self-assign themselves into groups while setting limits to the number of students that could be in each group. So there's all sorts of ways to get students assorted among the groups in a group set. So again, here I've got 2 group projects. And excuse me, 2 group sets, each one with a couple of groups within, and the students have been distributed among them, either manually or by random assignment. And there's of course no requirement that the same number of students be in each group either. Just doing that for convenience, but that you can have varying numbers of students in each group if that's appropriate for whatever reason. All right, so we've got our group structure set up here for the moment. We could, of course, keep adding group sets to our heart's content. Your group structure can be as complex as you like. Let's take a look at what this gives the students, what the students can do within these groups, and what resources they have available to help them do that. To do that, we can take a look at at a particular group within a group set here. This is going to be true for all groups. By looking at the menu, the context menu associated with that group, the little 3 dots out here to the right, common Canvas symbology here. And each of these groups has what's called a group homepage. And let's see what's on that group homepage. The group homepage is like a little mini Canvas shell within a shell that only these students and you as the instructor have access to. They have an announcements tool, and these announcements will be visible only from this group homepage and only to those students who are members of this group. So I can make an announcement. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our group. If you had assigned a group leader, presumably they'd be doing this, but anybody within the group can post an announcement here, which could be some information or a question or resources. They can upload a file to it and share files with people this way. So there's another way to do that here in a minute. They can share videos, all sorts of stuff, all the usual tools that you have when you're creating an announcement. But here the students would be the ones creating the announcement. We save that. There's that tool, or there's that announcement rather. Go back to group home. So the announcement is visible the minute the student goes into the group homepage. We also have a pages tool. Canvas pages, of course, just basically web pages, one of the 2 primary content types in Canvas. Students can create pages within this group, but rather than do this as an administrator, a teacher in this group, let me get in as one of the students who's in this group, and I have to remind myself who's in here. Student 1 is in here. All right. Let me log in another window as test student 1. Okay, now this is test student 1, as in on the internet, no one can tell if you're a dog or a pair of them. And here's our Canvas Groups seminar shell. And the students can access this group in a couple of different ways. Let's see, we're in Final Project Group 1. All right, so the student can just click on their Groups tool here in the System menu and find Final Project Group 1. And there it is. They can also, if you have allowed them to access the people tool, the roster tool in the shell, they can also go in through the groups tab. But probably they're just going to use this groups tool, the groups button over here. Those other groups, by the way, that didn't look familiar, are probably in other courses. Students may be part of groups in several different courses. So it's a good idea to make sure those group names are clear so that they can tell which group is associated with which course. So here's that same group homepage we were looking at a moment ago. There's that announcement, which they can view. Go to the Pages tool, and then create a page. And students can do this. This is the only place usually where students can actually create a page inside a Canvas course. Normally you reserve that capability for yourself, but within a group homepage, they can certainly do it. And this page will be visible only from this group homepage. It won't be in your overall list of pages in the Pages tool in the main shell. It's only part of this group here. Final project group 1 in this course. So let's see, let's just make a sample page. I have to call it something. How about a sample group page? That's a good idea. I must have had before. Okay. Nice that Canvas will remind you of what you've done sometimes. Can we see their pages too, Nancy? Yes, absolutely. You can always go in. You can see anything that's in the course in any student group anywhere, but only you and the members of that group can see it. Good question. All right, so this person might, I can type and put information into this page. And this is about a final project, so I'm going to just type the title. I have all the usual tools associated with it. Person can embed images that are associated with their this particular page. And when you create the group also gets a group file folder in Canvas's file system. So you can select that and then upload files that you want to use within a Canvas page, like images or something like that. So let me just upload and find a picture here that might be some interest. I don't want to spend too much time doing that. Oop. Open. And there it is. And then update will actually put that picture into the page. Some of our local wildlife here in my backyard. Not quite sure what that might have to do with the final project, but we can use our imagination. Maybe this is a wildlife management course. So this page can contain any of the stuff that you would normally find in a Canvas page. The students can do any of that. For instance, I can put in a YouTube video. I'm going to search for it. No telling what I'm going to get when I search for this in Canvas. Well, it does appear to be mainly wildlife. We find something that looks interesting, we can embed it in small, medium, or large size. I'll just do a medium there. So there's a video in our putative wildlife page. So students can make very rich content items here, and then just save that. And that page becomes a part of the pages associated with this particular group. All the other students in this group will be able to access this pages tool and access this page, and they'll be able to edit it. Probably, if we go in and pull that group page up again, go to edit, we'll see that there is an option here. Yeah, indeed, members of this group will always be able to edit this page. You can give anyone the right to edit the page, but usually you won't want to. So the other members of this group can not only access this page, but they can edit. So this is a great way for the students to create documents collaboratively. They can all work on this together and save it, almost like a Google Doc kind of situation. In addition to being able to create and share pages and collaborate on pages, students can upload files into their own file area. There's that image that I just uploaded, so that's available for use in other pages within this group homepage, within this group as well. But students can upload other pages to work on, to share. Let's see, let's just find a document of some sort here. Find something that might be of general interest. I don't know what Notes About Canvas is. We'll upload that. So just that quickly, I can upload that file into there. Students can open that file. Canvas should give them there we go, a preview of it. And if they want to download this and actually work on it and then upload it back to the system, they can download the file. Send. And save it to a particular spot on their hard drive. And do whatever they wish with that file. So it's a lot of capability to collaborate here on various items of content. They can, students within this group can communicate with one another through discussions. Again, remember, this is a student doing this, so a student can make a discussion, just as you can within the larger course. Again, only students within this group will have access to this discussion, but others will can make their own in other groups, and you will have access to it as well, of course. Oh, yes, Kathy, welcome. Kathy, would you mind putting your name and email in there so I'll know I got to see you today? And yes, absolutely, I will make this outline available. Excuse me. Let me finish this thought and I'll do that. Thanks, Kathy. Okay. So this might be, let's see, we're in final project. The students can make multiple discussion groups. They could be used on specific topics, but let's say this is just a generalized discussion about this particular project, and they can, you can add a, let's see, add some information, instructions, use this forum to post ideas about our final project, which presumably there's more information about in somewhere else in the course. And yeah, probably we're going to want to allow threaded replies in most cases, and then save that. And now there's a discussion forum that, again, only these students and you have access to. Students can even undertake conferences, but they can't create them. That's interesting. I hadn't tried that before. So that's something you have to create for them. That's basically a tool similar to Zoom called Big Blue Button that is available, but that's something you would have to create for them. And collaborations would involve sharing documents through something like Google Docs. And they'd have to log into their Google accounts from here and authorize it. This student doesn't have a Google account, so I'm not going to do that. But all of these collaborative capabilities are available to the students within this group, and they can make use of them freely without your intervention necessarily, or without your further authorization. So it gives them a place to go to work together on a project that you've assigned, or, a project that you've assigned, or a task that you've assigned. Once you have these groups set up, and before I move on, let me get that outline shared with everybody. I just need the link to it. And let me put that in the chat tool. Yep. There, it's working. Here's the link to that in the chat tool. Thanks for reminding me of that, Kathy. So you can pull that up at any time. So, and all of this is just one project here. Each one of the other groups within each group set has the same capability. All righty. It is also possible to assign assessments that you have created in the larger course. Let me go back to the general course, and let me no longer act as that student, but here I am back as in the same course as me. And I have within the modules in this course, now remember again, I can't restrict access to modules or to content items within Canvas pages or file links within modules to a particular student group. But what I can do is I can assign certain assessments, homework assignments, quizzes, graded discussions to specific groups, or more accurately to specific group sets, because you'd want everybody within a group, probably within a group set, to have access to this. So let's say here's a quiz that I might want to assign to a particular group set. I can do that by editing the quiz, he said. Oh, wrong one. That's not me. There's me. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. No, that's not me. Where did I go? Pardon me just a second. There's the dogs again. Ah, here I am. Okay. Multiple personality disorder. All right, let's go back to the course itself. I can do that just by clicking on the project and following my breadcrumbs back to my home screen here. Now, let me go to the modules. And let's find, here's that quiz. Let's just take that one. And let's go into that quiz. Let's say I want to assign this to a particular group set. I can do that by editing the quiz. Now, I can't do this if students have already taken the quiz. This has to be done before anybody else does that. And there's no such thing as a group quiz per se, but instead of assigning this to everyone, I can pick specific students that I want to assign this to. That's not as convenient as being able to just pick a group name here, but that you don't have an option to do with a test. But you can assign a test, a quiz, to specific students only by doing this and taking out everyone else. So that's something you may want to do. With homework assignments, let's go back to the modules and find a homework assignment. Let's see, on here. I can edit this assignment. And again, as long as nobody's has submitted it, I can make this a group assignment. This is something you can also do, of course, as you create the assignment. But you can change your mind later as long as no one's submitted it. So this will be a group, an assignment that only members of this group set are going to be able to access. And typically with group assignments, there's only one grade assigned, and that grade is earned by everyone. And yes, that can seem unfair, but again, this is how the world works. The world of work works in most cases. If, however, you do not desire to do that and you want to assign a separate grade for this assignment for each student within the group, you can so indicate. That was a feature that people militated for a long time in Canvas. And when it says select a group category, what it's referring to are group sets. You select a group set. And let's say this is the midterm project. Okay, so we assign that to it. You could create another group set if you were creating this assignment from scratch. This is another direction from which you could approach this, another arc. You could create the group set to which this assignment is going to be assigned right here. But since we've already done that, we don't have to do that again. And save that. So now this is a group assignment. Each group within that final project group set will now submit a file to satisfy this particular assignment separately from the other groups. So when they go either to the module where that is located or to the assignments tool, if you've given them access to that, and find this defined screencasting assignment, and they, well, let's do this as one of our students here. Let me find test student 1 over here. There we go. Here's test student 1. And this is the midterm assignment, I believe. There it is, midterm group 1. But let's go back to the course itself and look in the module and go to that define screencasting assignment. Here, and oops, I locked it down. Needed to change the date on that assignment, but normally there would be a submit assignment button up here. And when the student did that, they would go in, and if it's a group assignment, typically only the group leader would submit the assignment. So that it will, and then all 3 members of that, when that assignment is graded in the grade book, in the speed grader, all of the members of that group would receive that same grade. If instead you had checked that box in the creation or in the editing of the assignment that said give everybody a separate grade, then each of the members of the group would submit the assignment separately and would receive a separate grade. You can do it either way. But again, more typically, if you're going to do a group assignment, you're going to have the group leader submit it. Okay. You can do the same thing that you do with, oops, again, I need to be me. I gotta be me. You can do the same thing with graded discussions that you can do with assignments. You can make them, let's see, let's go into this already existing discussion here and edit it. And you'll have a button just like the previous one for assignments that says this is a group discussion, and you can assign this to the group set that you're going to use and save it. And now you get this information. Each group has its own conversation for this discussion, first recording. So only the students within that group will communicate, will collaborate with one another within this discussion forum. So it all gets pretty interesting, keeping track of it. Fortunately, the students only have to keep track of their groups. You have to keep track of them all. You have access to all of them. You can monitor them. You can see what people have done, what they've turned in the grade book and things like that. But keeping track of it all gets to be a little complex after a while. Okie dokie. Let's see where we are in the outline here. Yeah, we talked about all of that. We've seen how to share files and pages and how to assign assignments, quizzes, and groups, or discussions to groups. And we've seen the group home pages and so on. Obviously, this is not going to take us 2 hours today because we're already down to Roman numeral 4 here. So I hope you will have, and I haven't forgotten about using groups in moderation of tests and so on. We'll take a look at that here in a minute, but let's talk about student groups first. What we've been talking about up to now are course groups, groups that you create for the students. Students can, however, as long as you allow it, create their own groups within your course. Let's see how they can do that. I need to be a student again. Let me bring the dogs over. In order to be able to do this, you need to give the students access to the people tool, I do believe. I don't think they can do it through here. No, they can't. They have to have access to the people tool. And they can, let me show you how you give them the capability to do this before I show you the student doing it. In your course settings, if you go to the course details page and go all the way to the bottom, you'll find a link that says more options. You know you're in trouble when you have to ask for more options on a page with this many options on it already, but it's really not that bad. One of those extra options is to let students organize their own groups, not groups that you create, but groups that they create. That is checked by default in your blank shells that you get. If you don't want students to be able to do what I'm about to show you, you're going to have to go in and turn that off by unchecking it and updating the course details. But by default, they should be able to do this. Okie dokie. Go over. They will have to have access to the people tool. And they'll go to the groups tab. In that event, they will see a groups tab. And they'll have an option to create a group. If you haven't checked that, they won't have this. They can give that group a name. And they can either allow anybody within their course to join, and this doesn't have anything to do with the groups that you set up. So this would be course-wide. Anybody within the course could join, or they could limit it to membership by invitation or invitation only if they wish. I think I have to actually invite, and they can invite either everyone or just selected students, just their friends. I don't know why that's not letting me select invitation only. There, I had to double click it for some reason. I think that was my mouse, not the canvas. Okay, so when they do this, a message will be sent out through Canvas, through the Canvas inbox to these students, inviting them to join this study group. We submit that. My group is there, again, just for the people, for the person who created it, and for those who have accepted the invitation. And when the students visit that group, they get another group homepage, just like the group homepage for the groups that you created, though this is separate. This is a group that the student created himself or herself. And it has all of those same tools. It has announcements. It has the students within this group can create pages. They can upload files. They can create discussions. So this is a, if they want to form, if the students want to form a homework group, they can do it right here and pull in whomever they wish, or make it available to everybody in the course, potentially, who wants to join, and they can work. You will have access to these groups, so you can monitor what's going on in them, but otherwise, they'll be able to work unsupervised on their own. Some people like them to be able to do this. Some people don't. Some instructors like students to be able to do this. Some don't. You've seen how you can turn off this capability if you need to. So that's just about everything I know about groups and Canvas. I'd love to hear from any of you all who have actually used groups in your courses, maybe in other ways than what I've outlined here. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to contribute along those lines? Just speak up or type something into the chat tool. I'll give you a minute to think about that.
Well, since we've got dead air right now, I do have a question that doesn't have to do with, well, it has to do with discussions. And I wondered that when I was setting up my initial discussion in my one class, what does pinned discussion mean versus not pinned?
Okay, I'm going to pin that to my ear right this minute.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get back to that in just a moment.
Okay.
Because I don't want to take us off on a tangent right this minute, but that was the last thing I was going to do, is ask you if you had questions on anything else, and okay, I'll be here to answer those for you as long as you have them. But let me, I'm not, here's got something. I haven't used groups yet from Anna Marie. Lots of unhappy use for group assignments from students in the past. Yeah, I hear you. I don't think you can reasonably expect, if you decide to do group, to make use of group assignments, that the students are going to like it. It's just not something that's comfortable for most of us, or that's natural, but it's all the more important because of that. because I repeat, they're going to have to learn to work as part of a team when they get into the real world. And if they've never had that experience, it's going to be harder for them the first time they have to do that.
That's true.
So, and I know it's harder for us too. It's harder for the instructor, because dealing with the drama and oh, so-and-so's not doing anything, what am I going to do, and so on, and oh, I did my work perfectly, I did my part of the project perfectly, but this other person messed up and my grade suffered as a result. It's not fair. Yeah, it's not fair.
Life isn't fair.
The sooner we disabuse them of the idea that life is in the work world is going to be fair, the more good we're doing for them. But I empathize. Students don't like it, and it's harder for us to do, but it is important. So I'm just going to leave it there. Obviously, that's up to you. And we just had another posting in the discussion forum here. Let me look at that. We do have group discussions. I divide the groups by the first letter of their last name. That's cool. They all see the post. It works. But if they aren't paying attention, they end up responding to both sets of prompts. Yeah. So if you actually have the discussions created in, or rather, if you assign the discussions only to the group, they're not going to see the other set of prompts for the group that they're not part of. So that would clean up that situation a little bit, Nancy, I think. And Anna Marie, I used to use the discussion boards to comment on each other's assignments. Group setting work any better? Well, in that case, the students would only be commenting on assignments within their group. So it might make it a little bit more tight-knit and make it a little less overwhelming for the students. And they might form relationships with the students within their groups, which might make the whole process a little easier for them, but it wouldn't fundamentally alter the nature of that. And of course, that's a wonderful thing to use discussion forums for. It's and you also, of course, have the peer review capabilities built into Canvas, where you can do things like that more formally as well. Now, I don't want to forget, before I go dealing with what pinned discussions are, I'm not going to forget that, Phil. Even at my advanced age, I can keep track of something for up to about 10 minutes. So I better hurry before I do forget. But is it possible to use groups in moderations for quizzes that gives like more time on a test to students? And I think you can. Let's go take a look at that. Let me get back to me here, because that's something an instructor is going to have to do. And let's pick up a quiz here out of this course that's been published. You do like if you want to allow extra time for a quiz, or if you want to allow somebody to have a longer date range in which they can take the quiz, you would go into the quiz, and rather than editing the quiz, you would moderate it in this task menu over here. I might have done that a little quickly. You'll find moderate the quiz as an option in the task menu on the right hand side of the page. Just select that. And unfortunately, I was misremembering. I am sorry. You do not see groups listed here, only individual students. so you have to know which students are in that situation. You can select multiple students to moderate, and you can allow extra attempts on quizzes, or if you have set, apparently on this quiz, I haven't set a time limit. Oops, that's going to make it hard to illustrate giving them extra time. So let me set a time limit here. Yeah, there we go. Let's make that 10 minutes. Save that. Okay, now I'll go back to moderate. And now when I go to these students, I can allow extra time of say 5, or double the time, extra 10 minutes. I can give extra attempts and save that. See, this student has 3 attempts left. And then, but then I have to edit this. I have to do the same thing again for this student. So I can't do that by a group, unfortunately. That's too bad. Because the groups do not show up here. Oh, and I can do that. There we go. This does allow me to do this without having to do it individually for each student. I can use this link down here at the bottom that says change extensions for all selected students. And I can add that. I can do this one at a time, or do it once rather than having to do it for each student individually. But again, I don't have that group reference here, so I have to remember who those students are. Sorry about that. It's possible to do that for all quizzes and some then each item. Nope, as far as I know, you have to moderate each quiz individually. This doesn't apply to assignments, homework assignments per se, but there are ways you can do this sort of thing with a homework assignment. Just pick an assignment at random here and edit that assignment.
Oh, you did? Oopsie daisy.
Yes.
Okay, hang on.
Pardon?
I'm working.
Oh. Not addressed to me. Okay. When you assign a homework assignment and you set due dates and availability dates, those apply to everyone unless you add another a student specifically to this. If you click this add button here, you get a list of all the students in your course. You also get groups. So here, if I had created, and where it's not possible when you're moderating a quiz, here, if I had created a group called DSPS, which I could certainly do, and manually assign my DSPS students to it. Let's do that. Let's see that happen. Let me back out of this for a second. Go to people. I'm going to create I have to create a group set for this group. I can't just create a group here, but I'm going to call this DSPS, and I'll create groups manually. So a group set can contain just one group. So I'll just create that, and I'll call this DSPS group and save it. And let's say test student 4 here is my DSPS student. I can assign that student to the DSPS group. And if the test student 6 is as well, I can assign him or her also. Now, having done that, if I go back to that assignment we were tinkering with a minute ago, it was defined screencasting, but it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter if I actually click on it. Come on. There we go. Finally managed to. And edit this assignment. This is a homework assignment, again, not a test. I can go down and I can add to the assignment list here my where's my DSPS group? That's interesting. Pretty sure I did that. Did I save that? Yep, there it is. And there's my 2 students in it. So why is that not showing up when I go to the assignment? Edit the assignment. See if it's just a momentary time factor here. Okay, I'll admit to being stumped on this one. I don't know why that group's not showing up here. Obviously, I can assign this to midterm group 1, assuming that were the DSPS group. And now I have the option to set but it doesn't give me the option to set different dates. Interesting. I'm going to have to actually put test student 4 in there. Oh yeah, it does. Okay. So now I can set different due dates and different availability dates for this group and for this individual student. Let me knock out that student again. So I can allow the DSPS students, once that group pops up. I've seen this happen in Canvas before where a group doesn't show up right off the bat. But once I assign this homework assignment separately to that group, I can set different due dates and availability dates, thus giving the DSPS students longer to complete the assignment. So yes, you can use groups in that case with a homework assignment, whereas with the quiz, it appears, let's see. Let me make sure I'm right on that. Let's pull up a quiz again.
Those are a nice one to choose.
Just pick one at random, we'll edit it rather than doing the moderation thing. Oh, I do have that capability here as well. I can add this to, no, I don't. It doesn't give me the group sets here either. So, nope, when you want to do that sort of thing with a quiz, you just have to do a moderation and you just have to know which students are which. Sorry about that. Not quite sure why that is, but that's it. Okie dokie. I hope I answered that question. I'm sure the answer was in the middle of that somewhere. If you want to ask the question again, or if that didn't satisfy you and you want to, we want to try that again, please let me know. That wasn't as clean and smooth as it might have been, but I think we got there in the end. Okay, now we have that. Is everything I have on groups at this point in time, and probably just a little more. But I do want to answer Phil's question as quickly as possible here before time progresses too far. And Phil, if I remember correctly, at this point in time, you were wondering what a pinned discussion was. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, let's go to our discussions here, our discussions tool in this course. And we have this area at the top labeled pinned discussions.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussions by default, when you create them, are not pinned.
Huh.
And they appear down below this line here. And the students can see them, and that's fine. You don't have to pin any discussions in order to use them. But this has implications for the order in which discussions are displayed. First off, pinned discussions appear at the top of the page. So they're the first things that the students see. So you might pin a discussion because it was something you wanted them to look at every time they went in. Like maybe this Camtasia tips forum was something you wanted them to think about every time they went to this discussion tool. You can pin that just by clicking on the little context menu out to the right that's associated with this particular forum. And you click pin, and that goes into the top group here. So they see that at the top of the screen every time. There's another implication here, though. These discussions that are not pinned here appear in an order that you can't control. Notice the movement tools here don't work. This is my first introduction to this concept of pinned discussions. When somebody asked me, well, why can't I determine the order in which my discussions appear? I want them to be discussion 1, discussion 2. I want them to be in order. Why can't I do that? Well, the answer is they're not pinned. These discussions below the line here, the ones you haven't pinned, are ordered by recent activity. The one that's been used most recently is the one that's listed first, and then the others are listed in order of decreasing frequency of use or recent frequency of use. A discussion that hasn't been used in a long time will be at the bottom of the list, and you can't change that. If you want to be able to control the order in which your discussions appear in the discussions tool, now remember, you can always present the discussions to the students as links in modules, and there you absolutely control the order in which the students see those discussions, within the module and between modules and so on. But if you also want the discussions ordered in a certain way in the discussions tool, assuming you leave them that link to go right to their discussions, you got to pin everything. If you pin everything, now you can order the discussions in any way you wish.
Very good. And the reason I wound up, when I brought my course over from Blackboard into Canvas, I have two discussions. I had the original introduce yourself at the beginning of the class, and then I had another one, just Q&A, whatever questions you might have. And then I also tell them, well, since I'm not going to be moderating this, if you do pose a question and nobody responds, do know that you're going to have to send me an email too, because then I subscribe to that. So, okay, so it actually worked out the way. The pinned one was the one that probably should have been pinned. It's the first thing they're supposed to do. And then the unpinned is the Q&A. And so
there's a little bit of randomness when discussions come over from Blackboard. There's a little randomness in whether they're pinned or not on Canvas. So, but that's something you do have control over in this respect.
Okay.
And I see Nancy mentioned that she pins her Q&A or her general question discussion. And that's a good idea, because that's one you always want them to be thinking about. There is, of course, a way you can avoid missing things that are posted to a discussion that maybe you don't check every day.
Right.
Rather than having them send you an email, you can subscribe to that discussion.
That's true. Yeah.
So this was my Q&A thing.
Yeah, Camtasia Buzz. Okay.
And I'm subscribed to that. If I subscribe to that, Canvas will automatically send me a message, a notification, every time somebody posts. And that's ideal for a forum which gets sporadic use, but which when something does get posted there, you really want to know immediately so that you can help the student. That subscription option is ideal for that. It's not so ideal for a main sequence discussion forum where every student in the class is posting like 3 times to that forum. You probably don't want to get a notification every time they do that. Your email box will fill up. Okay.
Yep.
Does that
very
all
good.
make sense?
That's very good. Yes, that makes sense.
Great questions. Did anybody have another question about anything having to do with Canvas or instructional technology in general? Anything but the meaning of life. I'll send you to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for that.
42.
That's it. So you're familiar with deep thought.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
All righty. I'll wait just a minute in case someone's typing madly into the discussion tool. But otherwise, that's all that I had for you today on groups. They are a cool thing to be able to use. It does require a little bit of extra setup. And if you do group assignments, group projects, there's a lot of whining. But it's probably be worth it in the long run. Ah, here we go. Thank you, Nancy and Kathy. Notifications. Some students do not get them. Well, that's a that's a very large and wiggling can of worms. Why might students not get notifications?
Because there are
Well,
settings.
for starters, students get to choose what they get notifications about, and you can't override that. Let's bring up a student account here. There's Willie and Charlie. Yeah. If we go into the account area, account link here in the system menu, and go to the notifications tool, or the notifications area, students can get notifications by email. They can have them texted to their cell phone, though they have to set this up. You can't cause that to happen, but they can choose to receive notifications this way. And if they have more than one email address associated with their Canvas account, they can choose to receive these notifications at either or both of those email accounts, or 3 or 4, however many they have associated with their Canvas account. They can add as many email accounts, they can associate as many email accounts as they wish with their Canvas account. But then they have all of these different types of notifications that they might get about course activities, discussions, conversations, inbox, group membership update notifications, things like that. All this they can choose or not choose to have to be notified of. And they have 3 levels of notification. They can get an immediate notification, which comes as a Canvas message, or all of these would come as Canvas messages to them, and would also go to their external inbox, their personal email that is associated with their Canvas account, assuming they have so chosen here. They can get a daily summary, 1 email a day with every notification in it, or they get the same thing weekly. And here's where they choose that. If they want to know if a due date, if a new due date is posted, they can choose to receive that immediately, once a day, or once a week. Or they can choose not to receive it at all. And nothing much you can do about that if they choose that option. There are defaults for all of these, but the students can change any of them, but you can't change them for them. Now, why might students not receive a notification? Well, they might have turned it off. If you want them to receive a notification when you post an announcement in the course, by default, that's turned on. So you post an announcement and boom, they get an email that says there's a new announcement in your course. But they can turn that off and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't override that like you could in Blackboard.
Oh, that's right.
The other reason why they might not receive it is the email address that is associated with their account might not be one that they're checking anymore. If we go to settings, under account settings, here's the email address that's associated with that account. That is, for students, that is usually the email address that the student provided to the district when they first matriculated, which might have been 10 years ago. And even if it was only a short time ago, they might not be using that email address anymore. And that doesn't change, I don't believe. No, even if they inform the district that I'm not using that email address anymore, here's my new email address. I don't believe that changes here in Canvas. This just happens once when the account is created. So it's up to the student to go into Canvas. If they change their email address, or if they abandon an old email address and create a new one, and they want to use the new one, they have to come in, they have to add that email address to their there's a box there somewhere, there it is. Add that email address in. Let's see. I can register that new email. Before it gets fully recognized by Canvas, however, they have to click on a link in an email that Canvas just sent them at that account before Canvas will allow you to fully utilize that email address. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Here's my district email. There's the email that Canvas just sent me. And click here to confirm this registration. Bada bing. Okay. Now, within a reasonable length of time, I may have to refresh the page there. Nope, that hasn't percolated through yet, but it will. And once that has occurred, the student then will begin to receive emails at this email address. I got a feeling in order for that to take effect, I'm going to have to log out here. Seems like you have to log out and log back in. Let's log back in as test student 1. And go back to account. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Shoot. Automatic. Sorry about that. Go to settings once again. Nope. Just hasn't percolated through Canvas's system yet that then I actually clicked on that link in the email. It will. Once that happens, when we go to the notifications tool, there, it did. It finally did. Now that email address appears here as well. But by default, all the notification options are set to don't notify me. So the student will have to go through and change these. in order to begin receiving at that email address. So let's see if it's going to let me. Nope, it just hasn't quite caught up with that yet. Also, the student can designate one of these as the primary email address by just normally clicking in this column right here. Would normally move that star down to here, but Canvas is just not ready for me to do that yet. That change hasn't percolated across all the servers that provide our instance of Canvas yet. Nuts. Okay, so I hope in the middle of all of that somewhere, Kathy, I answered your question. That's a couple of reasons why students might not be receiving either notifications or maybe not receiving messages that you send through the inbox to. If they're not checking the email account that's associated with their Canvas account any longer, they're not going to get those. That was a problem with Blackboard, still a problem with Canvas. There's not much we can do about that if we don't have an accurate email address or a current email address for the student. So I hope that answered that question. Anything else? Is anybody else still there? My goodness, there's still 5 of you there.
I'm still here, but
still
kicking.
Anything else I can help with?
Another great one.
Well, it was certainly had a couple of trips around Robin Hood's barn there, but I think we finally got everything answered. So I hope that will be of some help.
It is.
Don't hesitate to contact me at any time. Remember, those of you who might not be familiar, my email address is in the chat tool. Love to hear from you with any questions about anything that I can that have anything to do with the San Diego Community College District and Canvas. And I will help out in any way I can. And if I can't help you, I'll try to find the answer or send you to someone who can. All right. Whoops, someone, oh my gosh. Sorry, I accidentally sent that email address to just to Kathy. Sorry about that. I keep doing that. Let me set that to everyone. There we go. And if you want to keep the link to the syllabus outline or to my email, if you look in the chat tool, and I don't think I can show you this. I guess I can try. I don't know if this is going to appear for you or not, and I don't have another computer in the session here to know. But if you look in the chat window, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little menu icon, in other words, context menu icons. And if you click on that, there's an opportunity to save the chat. You can do that at any time. And you can do that right now if you wish. And if you save that chat, you will find it in your file manager. I'm on a PC, so I'll have to show you Windows Explorer. You're going to have the same basic thing in the Finder on a Mac. You'll have a Documents folder or a general folder on the Mac. If you go to that, there will be a folder named Zoom in there. If you double-click that and drop down, you'll find subfolders which are dated, year, month, day, and time when they were created. And you'll be able to open that folder up, and there will be a chat log. which you can open up in any text editor, and there will be all the chat messages that were posted. So along with the person who sent them. So there's today's chat log. Or is it? No. Yes, that's the one today. So this is the recording that I haven't haven't converted yet. But that's where your recordings will appear if you decide to record to the local computer as well. But anyway, that's how you can keep that information in the chat log. Kathy, I'm going to shared adjunct computer. Where is it again? Okay, Kathy, I'm going to guess that computer is a PC. You can tell me if I'm correct or not. Yes, good. All right. Go to the, and then, yeah, I'm still sharing this. Go to the Windows Explorer. Just click on the little folder icon in your taskbar. Go to Windows Explorer, go to Documents, and then probably the last one in alphabetical order, though, of course, your Documents folder could be ordered differently, but just look for a Zoom folder within the Documents folder. Open that up and look for a subfolder dated today, 2020-0302. It was created at 2:02 p.m. when we started this session today, when I started this recording today. And you should be able to find the chat log there. If I open up that folder, it's named meeting_saved_chat.txt, and you can just copy that. You can email that file to yourself, or you can copy it onto a thumb drive, or you can open it up. It should open up automatically in Notepad, and you can print it to a connected printer. Kathy, did that answer your question satisfactorily? I'll hope it did. She's probably doing that right. The Zoom folder and the Documents folder. Would you like me to send you that chat log, Kathy? I can do that. I will do that. Let me make sure that one, I don't forget that. Yes, I know where that is. New message. See James. Chat log. Attach documents. Zoom. Today, that one. Open, attach, and send. Okay, Kathy, it should be in your district email inbox as an attachment. Okay. Oh, y'all are gluttons for punishment. Anything else I can help with? I got all afternoon if you got questions. If you're tight, I don't want to cut this off. If you've still got a question, if you're typing madly in the chat tool, just punch enter real quick and then just continue typing in another chat message and I'll know you're typing. If I don't, bye. That's good. All right, Kathy, goodbye. Thank you all so much for attending today. I'm going to assume that's it. But again, if you have a question, just email it to me and I'll get back to you. If it's something that requires a an illustration, I'll make you a little screencast and send it to you. Take care. It was wonderful seeing all of you today. I hope you have a great evening, and I hope to see you in another session soon. Bye-bye.